every Monday morning at this time. Mr. Trump, good morning to you.
Good morning.
What do you make of this? There's a reporter over at ABC News, Pierre Thomas, got a rare interview with Eric Holder. And Mr. Holder, the Attorney General, said he will not appoint a special prosecutor because the people at the FBI are doing such a bang-up job investigating this. And okay, we've seen through the Judicial Watch Freedom of Information releases, there's been a lot of juicy stuff there, and yet the Department of Justice is saying there's no criminality, and our investigators, headed up, by the way, by Barbara Bosserman, a political donor to Barack Obama, they're all doing a great job.
Looking into the IRS, everything is just A-OK. What do you think about that?
It's shocking. I mean, you lose the emails and you say there was a breakdown and we just can't find them, and they're very recent, and lots of bad statements that they found were really terrible statements. You know, what Ms. Lerner said, it really sounds very criminal and sounds very dangerous, and you would think that somebody would want to go after that one. That's a big deal, and it is not getting much coverage. I mean, you look outside of Fox, it's not getting much coverage. But normally, can you imagine a Republican conservative in that position?
Right.
It would be, they would have been out of office, and you know where they'd be right now.
I mean, Bosserman contributed, what, $5,600 to President Obama's campaign during 2008 and 2012 election cycles here. It doesn't sound as though she would have a non-opinion in this case. Does it sound that way to you, Mr. Trump?
Well, it's amazing that this is not the story that it should be. I mean, this is a massive story. This is a Watergate-type story, and this is not being covered like Watergate, that we know.
And Donald, wasn't even good enough for ABC to put it on the air. In fact, they cut it out of their online interview and on air, and it only ended up being printed at one point in an ABC News article. But they cut it out. But they did include his comments about dismissing Sarah Palin's calls for impeachment. They felt that was, I guess, good enough to put on the air. What'd you make of the media coverage of that?
Well, they did, and that was put on in a very nasty way, and it was, I thought it was a pretty tough statement about Sarah. Sarah's, you know, making a point, and it's a point whether you like it or not, but that did not get much coverage, and that's something that also should have gotten much coverage. And there are more and more people that are going along with what Sarah Palin's saying. So It's a very unfair double standard. It is not surprising. But the IRS situation is such a serious thing, and it's getting so little coverage, it's incredible. But I have a feeling that maybe at some point that will be rearing its head. It just can't. This they cannot get away with.
Well, but you make a great point. Nobody's covering it except Fox, and you're talking about it, and it's on the radio, and it's on the internet. But, you know, they did see a juicy little tidbit in there where Eric Holder could badmouth Sarah Palin, saying she was a lousy candidate for vice president, and she's a lousy judge of who ought to be impeached.
It was a tough statement. I watched that statement, and I didn't see about IRS, but I did see that statement, and I thought it was a tough statement.
Yeah. Well, somebody had to make the decision in the media. Someone had to make the decision at ABC to cut that portion of the IRS interview out and decide to put the Sarah Palin chunk in. That was a clear decision.
Well, if you watch network news, you won't see any of this stuff, and you certainly don't see anything or very much about the IRS.
Why is that? Donald, why is that?
Right. Why don't the American people deserve to know?
And you wouldn't think it could be so concerted, but amazingly, they're protecting the president. The networks are protecting the president.
Is that because they had... Donald, is that because they had a vested interest? They helped get him elected, and now, given the fact that so many have said, you know, nothing's working out here, they don't want to be, you know, collateral damage.
Well, you know, as news people, you would think they'd want to go for the big story. Yeah. The big story is obviously IRS and other things, many other things. If you look at all the things that have gone wrong with this country in the last number of years, I mean, there's nothing is going right. But they really do, they protect. And you know, in all fairness to Fox, you watch Fox and then you turn on the other stations, the other networks, and there's absolutely nothing. You're saying, am I living in a different country? There's nothing. It's not mentioned.
But yet, you know, and they're not mentioned, and also no need for a special prosecutor, that they're doing the job well already. I mean, when you see Barbara Bosserman and her political donations to Barack Obama, look at this right here. I mean, upwards of almost $6,000 overall. You see $3,600 in the 2008 campaign, 2000 in 2012. I mean, this is a lot of cash donated to one political party here when the issue involves conservatives being targeted for their beliefs by the IRS when it comes to tax-exempt status. This means anyone who has a political leaning was targeted here. And in this case, it was a conservative. So they have someone who donated to the Democratic Party President Obama, in fact, leading the investigation. Does that sound clean?
Elizabeth, in the old days, they called that, quote, a total conflict of interest, and the person would not be allowed to even get to hear the subject. Okay?
The old days.
That was a total conflict of interest, and that person wouldn't be allowed to get anywhere near the subject. It's horrible. What's going on is horrible. What's going on in the country is horrible. Things are going very badly for our country, and it's an embarrassment. But that's a total conflict of interest, obviously.
Yeah.
Donald, let's talk about Atlantic City. Place I know and love. Atlantic City's Trump Plaza Casino closing its doors on September 16th.
Right.
But you're not involved in that, right? You say
Not at all.
nothing
I got
to
out
do with
years
that.
ago, and it's sort of at real Donald Trump, my Twitter, I get, from the haters. I call them the haters and losers, because you have plenty of losers, I want to tell you, this world. But they said, oh, you lost the casino. I didn't lose anything. I got out years ago. There are those that say my timing was incredible. I loved Atlantic City. I was there a lot. I built 3 places, did very well. What happened is the people that are running it now, the people that have it, are closing. Atlantic City is under tremendous competition from other states like Pennsylvania and Delaware and many, many other places. And the market has shrunk. I guess 75% of the casinos have gone or will be going bankrupt in Atlantic City. It's a tough place. But I got out years ago, so I should get credit, but instead I get scorn. But I'm used to it. It's okay. It's okay. No, I made a wise decision years ago, and it worked out well. But I loved Atlantic City. During its heyday, it was something special.
Boardwalk Empire.
It sure was.
Do I get credit, Steve? Do I get credit?
Absolutely.
Good.
And
Thank you.
you're out of the casinos and into the golf courses.
Well, I get credit for making wise decisions, and in this case, I invested
This
in
is how smart
Manhattan. I invested in.
This is how smart Donald
lots
is.
of good places.
Right after he locks up that golf course in Scotland,
Which is beautiful.
a
by
week
the way.
later, I see a big article in the New York Times about how golf courses, distressed golf courses, are the future for real estate investment. A week later after you make your
Look
move.
at that.
Now everybody wants to buy them, and you can't buy them. I mean, they're very hard to buy. They're a hot product. The golf course stuff is hot.
Right.
So anyway, but I appreciate you asking me the question, because a lot of people don't understand Atlantic City, and they don't understand. And
Sure.
I made a wise decision a long time ago, so that was great.
You got out when the getting was good. All right, Donald Trump joins us every Monday morning at this time. Sir, thank you very much.
Thank
we'll
you
see
very
you back
much.
here in a week.
Thank
You were
Mr.
smart in
Trump.
selling Ducey's Barbecue out there on Long Island 7 years ago. You got out. Now they're
Timing
going
was
under.
Actually, I
right.
still regret that. All right, coming up, remember